All right, so we were joined by my man in Salinas, California, out there in the West Coast, soil scientist with the NCRS. I got it right that time. With the
No,
U.S.
sir.
NRCS. I'm sorry, the National Resource Conservation group out there, part of the United States Department of Agriculture. Soil scientist, Mississippi native, great basketball official, and my man Alan Curry. We are recording this for all of our friends at Madison County Schools at Madison Central, Rosa Scott, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, Velma Jackson, and the Academic Options Center in our YouTube channel. And we're in the agriculture career cluster. So thank you as always for getting up early out there on the West Coast and joining us today.
Hey, Greg, thank you for always thinking of me. It's always good to reach back. There's some great and talented minds in the state of Mississippi. I'm proud to say that I'm a Mississippian, and any way that I can support, I'm ready to do it. So thank you for always thinking of it, my brother. Thank you.
Always. Now, before we talk about your soil scientist career, I think it's important to let everybody know, you grew up in Port Gibson and you did go to Alcorn, but that was not your original plan. And I think that's important because when these kids start making college decisions, if they plan to go to college, they need to go for the right reasons. And you did that, and it led to a great career for you. So tell us about that, because that's really cool.
Okay, as you stated, first and foremost, I'm from the big city of Port Gibson, Mississippi. Velma Jackson, I'm sure they've competed against us in, basketball, whether it be 3A and all other sports. But yeah, big city. So I'm from Port Gibson. Never imagined that I'd be working in the Department of Agriculture. I always knew that I was going to DC. I wanted to go to DC. My aunt used to tell me that I had a gregarious personality and that I needed to work for the federal government. We just didn't know what aspect of the federal government. But and I did not like Alcorn. I did not like purple and gold. It just was something about those colors. I enjoyed Jackson State. I like that blue and white. And I wouldn't say that too often, but I did not like purple and gold. So 11th grade, my teacher in what's that? In what is this social studies class, he just told us all to research a major, pick a major, research that major, and decide what we want to do. So I had to do a presentation, and I chose agriculture. For some odd reason, I chose ag, and I looked at all the fields in agriculture, and plant and soil science stuck out. Plant and soil science stuck out because it was one that you could work in many different avenues of agriculture by having a plant and soil degree. So I did the research, and I decided I was going to go to Alcorn. I tried out for the basketball team my freshman year, but my goodness, those guys were strong, fast, and they could shoot a whole lot better than me. So I realized basketball wasn't going to be it, and I decided to stay there, go in agriculture, and I committed to having a full-time job by the time I walked across the stage. So freshman year, leading into my sophomore year, that summer of '98. Yes, I have 24 years with the federal government. The summer of '98,
Wow.
I did an intern with the Forest Service in New Mexico. And
Wow.
while on that intern with the Forest Service in New Mexico, we were doing tree surveys, taking samples, getting DBH, getting heights of trees, species. And I learned that I wanted to be a family man, and the Forest Service wasn't for me. So I came back, went to the liaison's office, and it starts where you all are right now, just researching and following up with people that can guide your careers. I stayed in the liaison's office, like, okay, what opportunities are out there? So the next summer, which was '99, I did an intern with the NRCS as a soil scientist, mapping soils in Wilkinson County. And my office was in Natchez, and we traveled to Wilkinson County and Mid County, mapping soils. So from there, I continued to go back every summer up until I graduated and started a full-time job as a soil scientist in 2002. And I will tell you all that it's a great opportunity. I admired everyone that I was working with, and I hit a roadblock that first year, but I had to look at myself and see what I had done wrong or what I could have done better. And I stayed with the agency. And in 2004, I converted to a soil conservationist, which is one that deals directly with the farmer, addressing many of the needs or addressing resource concerns, whether it be erosion control, forestry management, crop land, and grazing land. So I did that from 2004 to 2010. That ranged from me working in Natchez to Lucedale, Mississippi, and then to Canton, Mississippi, where I was for 10 years as a soil conservationist in Canton. And then I went to Pearl as a resource soil scientist. So my career, I've changed careers all within the agency, but I stayed connected to soils one way or another. So I became a soil scientist, Greg, and Kent in Pearl, Mississippi, at the area level. And I was the area soil scientist in Pearl. And what I would do in that position was give expertise consultation to the field offices. All the field offices that were in area 3, I would talk to them and interpret the soils based upon their characteristics and how best they could manage those particular practices that they were dealing with at the field level. So I did that for 4 years. And right around the time that I had 20 years, which was in 2018, 2019, I did a self-reflection on what's next for my career, what's next for my life, what could I do next? And I felt that I had maxed out as the resource soil scientist. So I took a position in California. I did a detail first in 2018 as a resource soil scientist, same position, just different exposure, higher pay, and just a different environment. So I did that, and in 2019, I took the job as a district conservationist in Indio, California, where it's called the Coachella Valley. And Greg, you know, you that was when we first got on these calls to do this, and that's the Coachella Valley where Coachella Fest is and Stagecoach. Yeah, so it was a great experience there near Palm Springs, and I was a district conservationist there for 2.5 years. Now, mind you, within that time, Greg, I had a goal that I was only going to stay in that position 3 years, and I was ready to move on up in my career. You know, and with that, I was very intentional. And in Mississippi, we have this thing about we're taught to respect individuals. We're taught to say less, to to protect yourself by making sure you do all the right things. But there's this thing called grace, where you allow grace. And I would say now that people need to understand what you are, who you are, what your visions are, and how you want to move. I mean, you need to be intentional about this is what I want. So I came to California with the mindset that I was only going to be there 2.5, 3 years. They were going to see my leadership, and I was going to move on. So by the grace, I was given the opportunity to act as the assistant state conservationist for field operations, which is the area supervisor.
Wow.
I was given the opportunity to act in January of 21. And I act a position where I was over all the day-to-day operations for the area, hiring, managing, budget, and just all the staffing needs, meeting with Congress. We had a lot of congressional visits, keeping the state conservationists updated on things that were going on in the area. I mean, basically being the boss. And after that opportunity, I left with the feeling, I was exhausted after that detail because it was 120 days, but I left with the feeling that, you know, my time as a district conservationist was over and I was ready to move on. So I ended up getting the job in Area 2, which is where I am now in Salinas, California, as the assistant state conservationist for field operations, basically over an area. And right now, I'm actually in the process of interviewing, bringing in some new individuals, some new staff. So I'm interviewing a lot of recent grads right now, trying to bring more staff into California. So it's a busy job, lots of travel, visiting my offices. I have about 80 employees that I supervise. We have another one in Compton, California, an urban office. So my career has been great.
Yeah, and I think it's important to understand that, you know, here in Mississippi, we kind of missed the big picture about where our produce and food comes from, because having food source for the country is beyond vital. In that area that you're in California, there's so much that we eat on a everyday basis that comes from your area. That's why these soil scientists and soil conservationists are so important, because if that soil is contaminated or there's something not right in it, whatever those farmers invest as far as time, money, and resources goes down the drain. So it is extremely important what you guys do as far as the soil before anything is ever planted.
Oh yeah, and that's correct, Greg. I mean, just like Mississippi, you know, you got corn, soybean, cotton there. I mean, it's some great work going on in Mississippi as well. But in California, I'm in what they call the salad bowl capital of the world. All of your green leafy vegetables are here in the Salinas Valley. I mean, every day I'm driving to work, all I see is green, lettuce. I see broccoli, cauliflower, celery. I mean, and also a lot of strawberries. I mean, most of your strawberry farms are right here in this valley. It's amazing. You go from seeing the ocean to strawberries to
Yep.
artichokes. I mean, it's amazing how much agriculture is right here. You know, grapes. A lot of the vineyards are here, so a lot of your grapes come from this area. Peaches. We have peaches in the Central Valley. I mean, apricots. We have those in the Central Valley. Almonds, pistachios. I mean, dates. You name it. It's growing out here in California. The growing seasons in California are just so different, and particularly in the southern region where you go down where I used to work in Indio, the growing season are extended because it's summer pretty much the whole year. The weather is so good for it. So lots of the produce come from out of California. You'd be amazed at all the things, and just to see some of the farmers and some of the farm workers. I mean, literally working in the fields. They're going from the field to the box, to the truck, to the store, in that order. And some of these farm workers, they leave work with boxes of produce, like grapes. I mean, strawberries, like they have so many to take home to their families because the production is mass. They have a
Yeah.
lot of mass production out here.
Yeah, and I think that's important too because and you talked about a little bit about what you do. So if somebody was looking to get into a field where I don't want to be in office all day, I want to be outside, I want to be a part of the outdoors. Um, ag and especially soil some of these other ag fields are great to get into because it is a great mix. You get to be in nature, or if you even want to focus on the animal side, you get to be around
Yeah.
animals, farm animals, and then on your side, with the if you want to be out on the farmland and you can drive by there and say, "Hey, I took care of that soil, and now look what's growing out of it." It's feeding a lot of people.
Yeah, and on the staff, and I apologize that I didn't even say this earlier. There's so much diversity in this profession. We have engineers on staff. Water quality is a big thing. Civil engineers, so water quality is a big thing. So designing structures um, for to put water on place, water storage sites, um, controlling erosion. Those are some of the things that the engineers do. We also have biologists. So they're looking at what plant species or looking for things for wildlife in those areas. We have agronomists, and they're looking at the plant soil relationship. We also have so of course soil scientists. We have foresters because believe it or not, there's lots of forestry in California, and you can kind of see that with if you hear about some of the wildfires, whether they be in Washington State, Oregon, and on down to California. So we have foresters on staff as well. And this new position that we have, which is the natural resource specialist, some of those positions, the natural resource specialist could kind of go either way. They could possibly go biology, they could go the soils route, they could go the range route where they're dealing with at a larger scale. Like in Mississippi, we have pasture land. In California, we have range land because the acres are so large. So we have range management specialists on staff, natural resource specialists, engineer technicians, engineers. I mean, and we even have management and strategy. So there in Davis, where our state office is, we have staff that handle the budgeting aspect. Individuals have to understand how time and attendance work, how to maximize or manage the budget for the state where it comes to the areas, ensure that we're providing adequate. We have adequate money for trainings for staff, um, travel for staff, equipment, and all those things. So there's a lot of diversity in the work that we do. There's a lot of diversity in the training that we give, as well as the preparation for staff. Because anywhere in the state, anywhere in the U.S., the most important resource that we have is the employee. So there's so many development programs out there for individuals, and whether someone comes to Mississippi, comes to California or work in Mississippi, there's great opportunity for individuals in the department and field of agriculture.
Yeah, and one thing we were watching some videos about agriculture as the growth of the drones and the geospatial mapping. And we actually have a drone program here at Madison County Schools now that they can do 2 years in high school of drone training. And also we looked at the
Mhm.
need for mechanics and people to work on this big equipment because, even if you don't want to do the college route, there's an opportunity in agriculture to get these trades because when you have this big time equipment that has to, plow the fields, or some of the software technicians and computer technicians, some of those people just need a certificate and some training, and they can get right into the field of agriculture, because at the end of the day, if one of those machines breaks, somebody's got to fix it.
Yeah, and every everything evolves, Greg. Everything. The way you all teach, some of the things that you all use, everything evolves. So at this point, they're going into. We also have the GIS specialist position. I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, with the GIS position, the innovation of managing crop fields, remote sensoring, where they're actually, using drone, they could tell where, in imagery, they can tell where the water, where the how do I say this? I want to make sure I use this word correctly. They want to make sure that water usage is being equally distributed among fields. They're using drones for those type of things. They're using drones to see, if there's disease in fields. They're using drones to see where there's discrepancies of uniformity of use in those fields. So a lot of things are being done through drone. We got some questions, Greg?
Yeah, we got a bunch. I got one more before I get to the students' questions, and I wanted to,
Okay.
I want to talk about, one thing that's really cool when you're a person here from a small Mississippi, you're out there on the West Coast. Obviously that's a big risk to take, and a lot of kids, and I've even said it myself. One of my only regrets, well, actually my only regret in life, is I didn't bet on myself when I easily could have earlier in life. So you took a big risk by going to the West Coast. No matter what your credentials are, that is still a big risk to move that far away from home. So I don't care how old you are or how qualified you are, that's got to be a big risk and a scary time for anybody. So talk a little bit about that, because I was amazed myself when you did it.
And Greg, you remember we had that conversation,
Yeah.
prior to me leaving, we had that conversation, and we talked about me feeling like it was time for me to go. I know you remember that was after a basketball game, maybe we had in Rankin County, I believe. But yeah, so being from Mississippi, we either want to stay within 6 hours. We're not going to go as far as Atlanta. We're not going to go as far as Nashville, Tennessee. We're not going to go as far as Houston or Dallas. That's it for us. Within 6 hours, and that's it. But it was two parts of it for me. I wasn't feeling fulfilled. I felt like I had maxed out my potential in the job in Mississippi, specifically, from the financial standpoint. I had 20 years with the agency, and I felt that I couldn't retire in 30 years on the salary that I had. I felt like there were more positions out there, and comfort is a thing. I was living in Madison, Mississippi, nice neighborhood. I was refereeing basketball. I had a window cleaning business on the side. So I was doing a lot of things, but I didn't feel fulfilled. My mother is in Port Gibson. My family is there. So everything that a person would want from a comfort level, I had. But I just felt like it was time to try something different. And then, even with basketball, Greg, that's the second part that I really wanted to try my best to move up in basketball. I was refereeing in the SWAC, but I felt like I wanted other opportunities. So I decided I was going to move to the West Coast and work and try to maximize my basketball career and my professional career at the same time. And it worked out. So, you just have to be willing to bet on yourself, because one thing to do is you can say you wish you could have or you should have. And one of
Absolutely.
my cousins said, my cousin has this thing about I'ma do, I'ma say. And when a lot of time when a person say they're not going to do anything. So bet on yourself and just take the opportunity, because there are great people out here in this world that'll help you. Because when you get around like minds, and when people understand what your vision and your goals are, people will help you get those goals. And that happened for me in California.
Yeah, and I've always said I'm not going to be one of these old people towards the end of their life that's saying, I wonder what would have happened if. People are going to tell you no all the time. There's going to be things that don't work out for you. I don't care who you are. But if you don't try, you're never going to know. And you took a big risk and it's worked out for you. And I'm just happy as heck for you that it has. We miss you here, but
Yeah.
I'm glad it's worked out for you. But I have some incredible questions. I'm going to try to get to as many of these as I can. I cannot
Okay.
believe they're asking. And these are all ninth graders. This one is Mariah
Oh, wow.
Harris. And she asked, if soil is unhealthy and it cannot be used at all, how would someone in an agricultural field put that land to use?
And it can be used. Why wouldn't it be able to be used? I don't really understand your
So
question. I mean,
if the soil is unhealthy,
uh-huh.
how
Okay, the soil
would
is
you put the land
unhealthy.
to use? Yeah.
There are some management practices that you could use to I guess, to assist that soil, to get that soil back to a state of being able to produce. But if there's a soil that can't, then there are other uses for it. I mean, sometimes individuals build houses, all depends on the soil type, depends on the location of the soil. So that's a tough question just to answer in general, Greg.
Okay. Well, I told you these are tough. This is Michaela Dawson, one of our cheerleaders here, and she asked, "Do you need different types of soils for different types of vegetables?"
You do. So if you look at the Web Soil Survey, which is a website that you all can pull up and just say that you pick the area. You could pick the area around your home, just say around your home. And when you look at those soil types, it'll actually tell you what type of plants are suitable for that soil type. So because you have some soils that are acidic, you have soils that are not acidic, you have soils that may be high in like potassium or high in something else. So plant tolerance is an important thing. So you really have to look at that. So if you look at Web Soil Survey, some of these questions that you all have, even when it comes to building sites, some soils are not suitable for a home or a dwelling because they may shrink and swell like some of the soils in the Madison County area. So looking at Web Soil Survey could answer some of these questions about suitability of soil for whatever use, whether it be planting trees, whether it be certain type of crops, whether it be a home site, a recreational site for a lake, or things of that nature.
Wow. This is Willie Clay, and he asked, "What do you test when you test the soil?"
Again, you can test for anything. You could test for the salts in the soil. You could test for the potassium in the soil. You could test for the pH of the soil. So there are so many variants that you're looking at. So what you could do, Greg, you could contact the extension service there in Madison and tell them that you want to test a soil plot. And you test that plot for, just say you want to plant a specific crop or plant. You tell them that you want to plant a certain crop, and they'll come out and look at it and do a soil test. Well, it tells you what's deficient and what that soil needs in order for you all to get the best results from that for that plant.
Okay. They didn't write a name on this one, but this is a good question. I'm going to ask it. What was the hardest part of your college life?
What was the hardest part of my college life?
Yes.
I would say, as my neighbor, Mr. Howard, told me when I was a kid, make a plan and work your plan. I mean, in life, there's always going to be things and distractions and even things that you want to do that are sometimes not in line with your ultimate goal. So you have to be committed to being persistent and following that dream or what you've committed yourself to. So I say make a plan and work your plan, because there's always going to be other options other than what you set out to do.
Yeah. And again, we had a guest last week in another class that said people don't succeed in college. It's not because they're not smart. It's because they can't manage the time.
It's just commitment, and that's what college does. College shows any hiring authority that you've committed to something, because that's the first time that some individuals get independence. So you're learning how to balance your schedule, you're learning how to manage life, you learn how to make decisions. It's a lot of things that go on at that point. So just being committed is most important.
All right, here's another one they didn't put a name on, but this is a great science question that I would never have thought to have asked. It says, if you can overwater plants and soil, can they drown in hydroponics?
Yeah, I mean, you got to look at tolerance of species. That's the most important thing. You got to look at tolerance of species, and some things are very tricky. I mean, I look at this right here. This plant is just in water and it's thriving. I could take the same plant and put it in some new soil or fresh soil and overwater it, and the results are totally different. So it's a lot that go into it. So it's plant tolerance is an important thing. It's a major thing. It's a major difference.
Yeah, and that just goes to show how important the soil scientists are for all of our food sources around the country. It really is such an important job for our food sources. I just got one more from the students. This is Jakethia Brown, and she asked, "What made you focus on soil science as opposed to other areas of agriculture?"
As I stated in the about when I was in high school and did the research, when I majored as a plant and soil science major, I looked at the opportunity for growth, for professional growth. It didn't, like I would say ag econ. I really didn't know what all I could do with it, or ag business. I didn't know what all I could do with it, but I knew that soils was the foundation of everything. I felt that I could go in more than one direction. And as you all have seen with my career, I was a soil scientist, a soil conservationist, back to a soil scientist, and now I'm the assistant state consul field operations with hopes of being a state conservationist pretty soon. So
Wow.
it was just really, it's really the diversity in the type of work that I could do. I could have gone the agronomy route. Um, just a lot of different things I could have done with that degree. So that's why.
And that just goes to show how diverse that degree is, and even more so now. I'm not telling your age, but in the years since you've left Alcorn, they've added even more programs. So
Oh yeah,
they
hey,
really
I'm 40.
they really do
I'm
give you the
almost
tools.
45. I'm
Yeah,
almost
well,
45, and I'm proud. But I will tell you this, Greg, about soils. I wasn't a traditional soil scientist. I was good at my job as a soil scientist, but I wasn't, I would say, a traditional soil scientist. I know soil scientists that when you see a traditional soil scientist, they may have the soil triangle tattooed on their arm, on their back, and somewhere on their body, like literally understanding taxonomy, being able to speak the language of taxonomy, being able to speak the language of soils is something that is major. I was good at the job because I understood soils and I understood people, and I was a good conservationist. So I did a good job, but there are soil scientists that are like the scientists that are in the lab, because some of the work is laboratory based as soil scientists. So
yeah,
you have different aspects of soils. I was never one of the lab soil scientists. I was more so field soil
yeah.
scientist. So you have different soil scientists out there.
Yeah, and that's what's cool about these agriculture programs in college now with all these technological advances. You can really choose which route you want to go, and they really do give you the tools. And I know Alcorn's gotten all kind of grants since you've left that is just doing some incredible things in the field of agriculture. So I would really encourage anybody looking to go into ag to really look a long, hard look at Alcorn and Mississippi State. They both have
And
great
Mississippi
programs.
State, exactly. And
Now we're,
and for those that are not ready, Greg, they can go to Hines Community College, or
yep,
any of the other community colleges that have the ag related courses. Kahoma, some of the others.
yep,
It's a lot of opportunity, and ag is not going anywhere.
nope.
We're being more innovative in this approach to agriculture, so it's not going anywhere, and there are jobs.
All right, we're almost out of time, and I just always really appreciate all the time you make for us, and I learn something every time you talk. It's really cool. But before we go, and I know I've asked you this before, but even if these kids are not interested in ag, because everybody's not, and that's fine. But you came from a similar background as everybody that's in here with me right now. You grew up in rural
Yeah.
Mississippi as a black kid, and now you've gone to the other side of the country and are moving up the ladder with a great career, making a great name for yourself in a I don't think we can't state that enough, a very important career that really our nutrition depends on. So
Yeah.
obviously you had a lot of obstacles growing up as a young black kid in Mississippi. They're going to face the same obstacles. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So what can they do when those obstacles come to overcome them and become just as successful as someone like you?
When I think of obstacles and I think of where we're from, I don't think there's anywhere in the world that could better prepare a person for life than Mississippi. And we could deem it challenging, we could deem that it's not, because it's foundational. In Mississippi, everything is foundational. You understand what's important. That's family, that's whatever you believe in, and that's representing your family name. So when it comes to obstacles, it's more about a choice. Understand who you are, know who you are, be confident in that, don't compromise who you are, and you can overcome anything. A lot of the time it's because we're unsure, or we're choosing to do something other than what, not standing on your own principles. So when I look at obstacles and challenges, I can't say that I was faced with any, Greg. I really can't. There were
Wow.
things that were disappointing, but at the same time, you got to know who you are. And
Wow.
sometimes denial sometimes doesn't mean that it's not for you. Sometimes denial means not right now, or let's go another route. But the thing about it, when things happen to you, sometimes it's really not about you. It could be about the circumstances around you, or the person that these things happen with or from. So just kind of keep in mind, understand who you are, navigate life by following up, nurturing relationships, continue to communicate with people like yourself, Greg, myself, and others that want to share information. There aren't many obstacles. It's really on the person. So I'm from Port Gibson, Mississippi. I love home. I love Mississippi. I love Madison County. Velma Jackson and the rest of the schools in the Madison that were great to me during my time of refereeing. I miss home. I love you all. And if I can do anything for you, let me know.
Well, I appreciate it, man. My man, please give Latoya my best. I really miss you guys.
I
Uh,
will. I will.
I'll
And
encourage
our daughter's
at
at Howard, a
Howard
cheerleader at Howard,
University.
and and she's making it. She's a cheerleader at Howard. She's thriving. So,
Yeah,
yep.
home of the Bison. That's awesome. Great HBCU there in
All right.
DC. But Alan Curry, all the way from Salinas, California. It's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us today.
All right, Greg. Take care. Thank
I
you.
talk to you soon. See ya.